Tyreque, you're kind of filling in a new position this year. What's it been like so far in camp for you?
It's been good. I mean, it's a bit of a adjustment, going from like top down to now I'm like in the mid level, I would say. Um, I will say I've had to adjust like communicating. I know like last year, Coach D taught you guys how I like quarterback the defense and whatnot. So just trying to get the hang of doing that a lot closer to the ball is like the biggest difference for me.
You're working in a lot less space now. How have you had to adjust your game to that?
Just really dialing and focusing on my keys. I mean, I've been, blessed enough to, been able to pick Collar's brain for the last 4 years that I've been playing with him. So like, to be able to like get the tips and keys of how he was playing the position when I was at field safety, it's just kind of just revamping that and going back and like kind of dialing back in with that stuff. And I've had like, one-on-one sessions with him, and he's told me some things as far as like being patient. I mean that's like the biggest thing that comes with the position. Is just being patient. So I mean, just kind of working into that is.
So are you still quarterbacking the defense?
Oh yeah. It's like I said, it's an adjustment because like rather than me just talking to everybody from top down, I'm having to turn back and talk to guys behind me, talk to guys on the side of me. It's a bit of an adjustment, just like looking at who I'm talking to and where I'm talking. So, but yeah, I'm back there trying to quarterback everything like I've been doing.
What did you think when they came to you to want to do this? And Kane said it was a pretty easy sell to get you to try this.
Yeah. So we had a practice where I was kind of forced to be there, and after that, I actually went up and asked them if they could make it permanent, and it was early in spring ball, and they were like, well, let's just wait it out and see how the rest of the guys are, and then towards the end of spring ball, like when we have like our evals and stuff, that's when I actually went and talked to Coach D, and he was like, hey, we're doing it, like it's here now. So and like it's kind of something that's like funny because I always play around with them, like, oh, put me at Mike, put me at Don, put me at this. And when I finally did tell them this, and then now they're like, all right, like, let's do it. I'm like, oh, let's go. I'm all aboard. So I understand that type of like position for our defense and how big it is. So for me, all I'm about is like team effort and what's best for the team for us to win. So I'm all on board for that.
Is there a spot you couldn't play?
No, I can play everywhere. Put me anywhere.
What's the biggest difference between the two positions?
Kind of like what was already like brought up was just how much closer I am to the ball. Like, so stuff's happening now. Whereas like when I was at field safety, I was able to like scan and read everything. And then like if I had to fill an alley, like I had time. Whereas like now it's like boom, boom. Like a lot of the plays are a lot more bang, bang. So like to kind of have that, basically like what I was doing before, and now it's just a lot closer. Like that's like the biggest difference for me. It's just like I said earlier, like being patient, reading my keys, making sure that I know my job and my assignment, so I can just execute, play in and play out.
How is the defense better with you at nickel?
I mean, the defense has been good, regardless. Whether if I'm there or not. I think more so it's just having somebody that the coaches can trust at that position, just because. I mean, the rest of the guys, other than me, JL, Roman, those guys are young. So like to kind of just throw them in a position of where, like I said before, and I'm pretty sure the coaches can back me up with this. Is like that's a dynamic position for our defense. So like to have somebody experienced there, it takes a lot of the I would say stress off the coaches. It is an adjustment. I mean, kind of like I said, like having to be at field safety and I can scan the entirety of like the play. Like, I can see everything as it's developing, as it's going along, and then I can, adjust from there. Whereas like now I would say for me, I kind of have to be ahead of it, like have that anticipation and then just let my keys tell me exactly what's going on.
You tangle with bigger bodies.
Yeah, but I mean, it's not that much different than when I was at field safety. Like I still had, to cover tight ends and defeat blocks, with bigger guys and whatnot. So it's not too big of a difference when it comes to that.
Well, why did you go to them and say you wanted to do this? What do you like about this one?
Well, for one, you get to blitz. So I kind of I took advantage of that because, like I said, that one practice that I had with it, I was playing it and I had some blitzes and stuff, and just like I feel like it's a bit more free will with like how I can disguise, how I can move, how I can ultimately just help the defense and help this team. So. And I understood that, like, with Kyle leaving, I mean, that's a 5-year starter. Like, it's hard to replace something. It's just like if you have a 4-year starter at quarterback. Like, it's hard to replace something like that with a young guy. So I kind of just took the initiative and was like, hey, like I can do it. Like, you know, and it helps me and shows how versatile that I am. And like I said, it helps the defense, helps the team.
Shea and Rodney are competing to replace you. What have you seen out of those guys, and who do you think wins that battle?
Right now, I mean, they're just, you know, competing. And I love to see how both of them are, you know, they're taking the extra step, watching extra film, you know, asking the right questions. Ultimately, you know, whoever, I mean, because it's not up to me as far as like who gets the job, but whoever, you know, is back there, you know, I know that the coaches will trust and know that like they're ready. You know, whoever they call the guy to be, and whoever that is, I'll be ready to work with them. So, you know, I mean, it's just, like I said, I love seeing those guys compete. They go at it. But, you know, it's more of a friendly competition. Like, they're not bumping heads, arguing, you know, causing issues for the rest of us. You know, they're just working together, figuring out how they can ultimately get their foot in the door. Because, I mean, right now, like, that field safety spot is, like, it's also huge. Like, just because I went down to nickel doesn't mean that it's more important than field safety. It's just, you know, the way our defense is structured, like, we need that. I need to be there. So, like, for the most part, like, whoever gets that field safety spot, like, they got to be ready to go. So.
You ever seen Rodney have a bad day?
I feel like everyone has a bad day. I mean, I'm not going to I can't pick out a day right now off the top of my head, but I'm pretty sure he's had some bad days. And if you were to ask him, he'd be like, yeah, like, you know, I had this play. I wouldn't necessarily say anyone has had a full-on bad day. Maybe it'd be like half the practice, and then like the second half they'd pick it up. But I don't think they've had a bad day.
I guess what I almost mean by that is his attitude and energy is always very, very consistent.
Mm-hmm.
Even if he does have a bad day, I don't even know if you can tell.
Yeah.
What does his attitude and energy bring to this team?
He reminds me of like how Dante Dion is for the Rams. Like, he's just that spark. Like, you know, he comes out on the field and he's yelling and he's ready to go. Like, it doesn't matter, like, you know, if he struggled in meetings or if you couldn't even, like you said, you couldn't even tell if he had something, like, come up in the morning or anything like that. Like, he's just, once he hits that field, he's on. Like, it's go time. So, I like that, though, like, having a guy like that, because now you know where his focus is when he's in, like, a certain setting. Like, he's present in each moment that he's in, which is really good.
You mentioned doing like kind of film study type thing we could call. Like, can you explain, like, you know, what is he showing? Where is it at? Like, when was the last one you had?
It was back in the summer, the last one that we had. He's been pretty busy, so it's kind of hard to, like, schedule times with him.
Sure.
And then, like, with me being in camp now, it's definitely hard to get times with him. But the most recent one we just had, it's more of, like, me understanding why he would do some of the things that he did on the field, like how he would, you know, take on blocks or why he would, you know, cover this guy this way. Just kind of pick his brain with the position. Because, like I said, he's a 5-year starter. So for him to kind of just know the ins and outs of the position and how to, like, you know, how I can play this and how I can adjust to this. And a lot of it, too, was, like, for me to understand, like, fronts. Like, because I'm going to be a lot more in the run fit than I was before. So just kind of picking his brain with that stuff, like, how do you fit this and how do you play that and stuff like that. It went well. I mean, it kind of reminded me of, like, if he was still here and we'd have our film studies, but more so now it was just kind of just getting the specifics of the position.
So would you watch like spring tape or film from last year, and you could be like, hey, I see you did this, why?
It was a little bit of both. Okay. I mean, we would go over my stuff, so me and him watched that whole practice that I was there, and he kind of just, you know, went through it with me, and I probably did pretty well for me to have kind of been, like, you know, spot on the job for the most part. But and then we went back and watched some tape from, like, you know, a couple games. We watched, I think, the Colorado State game, Fresno, and I believe Wyoming was another game. We watched a couple games, and then I just kind of picked his brain with some of that stuff. But no, that's all.
You had obviously you know, you came back for a reason. I mean, you didn't have to be here this year. You could have decided to try for the pros or move on to whatever. I mean, how's it feel to be here, I guess, still? And how are you kind of soaking this in? And what's your mindset kind of this during camp?
I'm trying to stay as present as possible. Being that, I mean, shoot, it feels like yesterday when I, you know, made the post that I was, like, staying. Like, the time has flown. Like, and to think that we'll be playing in 2 weeks, and then from there it's really gonna fly. Like, I'm trying to soak in everything that I can and be as present as I can with everything. And, like, you know, I'm doing more as far as, like, talking to, you know, different guys on the team. Like, I can tell you right now, one of my best friends right now is Roger. Like, you know, he's one of the new offensive linemen that came in. That's my guy. Like, I talk to him like every day. Jaden, talk to him a lot. Like I'm trying to make connections with guys because I want them to know that like even though like I'm done after this year, like I'm not out of your guys' lives. Like I will always be, like just the culture that we have here. Like once a brother, always a brother. Like I live by that, and that's so huge to me. So, I want the guys to feel comfortable enough with me and with me being a leader on this team. Like they should feel comfortable enough to where they can talk to me and do whatever they need to do for the most part.
Besides winning, everybody wants to win a championship, et cetera. Anything you want to get out of this year that you haven't done before, or something that would make this year special for you?
Well, I've gotten part of that done already. I graduated, so that was like the biggest thing for me. So now, more so, I can focus a lot more on ball. I would say like something that I really want to do is just get to know everybody. I want guys, like I said, I want guys to be comfortable enough to come up and talk to me, and regardless of what position you play. I don't care if you're an offensive lineman, a specialist, linebacker, like just anybody, for the most part. And I try to do the best that I can and branch out with guys, and I treat everybody like their own individual. Like I have handshakes, nicknames, like I crack jokes. Like I want everybody to be comfortable enough with me because, like I said, me being a leader on this team, like I can only do so much that these guys are willing to let me do. So like if they're not open enough to let me, speak to them, lead them, do any of that stuff, like I can't do anything. So like I said, just trying to make sure the guys are warm enough around me to open up to me and they're fine with talking with me.
We taught you the value of that, and when did that click for you?
I would say the two guys that stick out right now are John Mochon and David Moa. Like those are like the first two out of position guys that like hung out with me, talked to me. I think Mochon was the only lineman that talked to me my first year here because those guys Garrett and Queso and all them, they were a-holes, something like that. You know what I'm saying? But I don't know. I'm good with those guys now though. But for the most part, I would say like with me being a young guy coming in, like those were the first two like out of position guys that like took me in, like, and they just made sure that I knew how this culture was, like how this place is supposed to be and how we're supposed to do things. So like now looking back at it now, like I said, Roger, that is my guy. Like I kid you not, Roger's my guy. So and then I've been talking to like Cage and Jack and a lot of those younger offensive lineman guys because Kay Connie and Garrett and all them, I've been here with them for enough time to know them. Now it's more so getting with the younger guys and making sure that, like I said, they're warmed up to me and they can talk to me and do whatever they need to do.
So you're meeting all these guys and trying to hang out with as many people on the team as possible. Have there been any stories or backgrounds that you're like just kind of surprised you, like, wow, I didn't know that about that guy?
I haven't gotten that deep with
Okay.
guys, like just trying to like pick out like like their upbringing and stuff like that. It's
Sure.
more so just like just checking on them,
Yeah.
like making sure like, hey, like how's camp going for you? Like, are you understanding the playbook? Like, are you studying? Like, are you getting this? And some of these guys, for the most part, they had summer school. So I'm like, how are you functioning with this 1 or 2 classes and ball right now? Because when we get into season, like you're gonna have 3 or 4 classes, maybe even 5, and you're gonna have to function with all this stuff. So I just try to like more so prep them for college more so. Like a lot of my conversations are that rather than like me asking like, hey, like, who raised you or, like how many, I don't really want to get into that stuff for the most part. I just want to like get to know them personally and like just understand like how they're going about, like I said, camp and, just more of the present stuff. Like I said, I'm trying to be as present as possible. So, yeah, that's what I'm,
Cool.
doing for the most part.
All right, guys.